Hello everybody and welcome to Nathan on Shuffle and to my latest episode of New Album Spotlight, the show where I put the spotlight on new album progressive rock that I'm really loving, or related genres, something that I thought was worth talking about. And today I have a really interesting one from a band that should be pretty well known to all of you guys out there. One of the biggest classic rock bands of the 70s who are still making great music today, and that is Styx and their new album Circling from Above. Styx, I'll be honest, I haven't really followed them religiously from their early career. You know, I've kind of come into them later, which is probably a unique angle to come at this review, because I know a lot of people are massive fans of their 70s material, you know, stuff like The Grand Illusion, Pieces of Eight, all of those classic records that showcase kind of this pomp rock style with a little bit of prog flair, especially in their early career. But I've come into them with their recent trilogy of records that I think showcase a new side of the band that is even embracing the prog elements even more than they did back in their heyday. And to me, I really came into the group with The Mission from 2017, followed by Crash of the Crown from 2021, and now this kind of completes this new era trilogy of records that are all fantastic and surprising. They're one of the poster childs to me of a band, a classic legacy band that's still making incredible, awesome music today. I think this way about Kansas as well. Their recent records have also been amazing, even though their heyday is considered to be back in the 70s. But it's cool to see these bands energized and playing great new music in today's day and age, adding in these younger, newer members to kind of breathe life into the band. And I just completely adore this record and the past couple records that they've done. They have an interesting style to them that they do these really short pieces of music. So each of these albums have a lot of tracks to them. And each track is only like 3 to 4 minutes on average, I would say. Some tracks even shorter than that. They just like to give you the feel of the track and then kind of move on to something new. And in a weird way, this actually works really well because it makes the albums really easy to breeze through. Like, you never get stuck on a song where it's like, oh, this is, you know, taking me 6 minutes to get through and I'd rather move on to the next thing. Like, it's always moving you on to the next thing, whether you want to move or not. And it just makes for really fun, exciting, fresh listens of this material. Crash of the Crown in particular is probably my favorite Styx record, honestly. And I thought they really added some unique prog elements and almost brought in a flavor like of a Spock's Beard or something like that, a modern prog band, really adding a dose of special sauce to the kind of their classic rock style. So Circling from Above, I think, doesn't quite have as many prog elements as their last two records. Maybe it's a bit more straightforward. Maybe it's a bit more like back in kind of a standard rock zone. But there's enough interesting different diversions and musical styles that are being infused that make it a really fun listen with a lot of different ideas in the mixing pot here. And that's kind of what modern Styx does, is they have a lot of ideas and they throw it all at you in these different, like, smaller musical vignettes. And I kind of like that approach in a weird way. As much as I'm the prog guy and I like expansive, like, epic tracks and all of that kind of stuff, sometimes it's fun to get something a little bit different where it's just these short little musical ideas that they keep presenting to you and that are interesting, that grab your ear, that are exciting and fun to listen to, and then you move on to the next thing that they're thinking of. And it is a concept record from what I understand. So there is a through line narratively to these tracks, but for me, it's just a fun exploration into their mindsets and to their musical world and endeavors. The lineup for this record, we've got James Young on lead vocals and guitar. We've got Tommy Shaw, lead vocals and guitar. Chuck Panozzo on bass and vocals. Todd Sucherman on drums and percussion. Lawrence Gowan on lead vocals and keyboards. Ricky Phillips, bass guitar and vocals. Will Evankovich on acoustic and electric guitars and vocals, and Terry Gowan on bass and vocals. So an extensive lineup, and one of their signature styles that they have is these multi-part vocal harmonies. They have different people singing leads at different parts of the record, and I always love bands like that who have a lot of different vocalists and they all contribute. And I love multi-part vocal harmonies, and all of that stuff just really brings life into this record and is one of my favorite facets of it. So it's really, really great listen, utilizing that classic AOR arena rock style, but with some pop elements, with some proggy elements, and the result is just a really fun listen through with no dud tracks. Just everything has something interesting to draw you in. The first track, Circling from Above, is very short intro track, but it has this persistent synth throughout the track that I really enjoy. Some Gilmour-esque guitar, some harmony vocals, almost like a Pink Floyd style vibe to kind of get you into the record before we get into the first single, Build and Destroy, which has some bubbly keyboards, some persistent bass lines, proves to be an upbeat rocker with some great vocal harmonies, some bluesy guitar soloing. And this is one of the more classic sounding tracks, classic keyboards, great bass grooves. Sounds like it could come from that 70s period of the group, but it's just a fantastic representation of where they're at now. Michigan is a great epic rock track that has a solid beat and some great guitar playing, some bluesy, almost country style guitar at points in this track, but just a really solid entry into this album. King of Love really leans even further into kind of this country rock style with a bluesy swagger. I love the big epic vocal and grand piano opening before we get into that bluesy kind of feel. We get a bit of a power pop style Beatles moment as well, with a great breakdown towards the end of the track. So it really runs the gamut once again to a lot of different things, even within this small piece of music. It's clear, has some really cool synth and harpsichord, almost Baroque kind of flair to it before the vocals enter. Some great dreamy keyboard work, some hooky classic sounding choruses, and it ends with almost this kind of spaghetti western kind of send off in that last little section. So once again, like I keep mentioning, it's a short track, but they pack a lot of punch into these little shorter tracks. Forgive is more of a piano, acoustic guitar kind of ballad section, some great melodious vocals, kind of a Beatles-esque style melody, and a memorable chorus, great guitar solo, and like excellent swells in the music that makes you want to wave your hands and just really take it all in. It's a great kind of closing piece to the first half of the record before we get into some more fun, different diversions when we get into the second half of the record. I listened to this mainly on vinyl, and I should have mentioned it at the outset, but this is really an interesting release. Styx decided to kind of just put this album out there without much information leading up to it. And it's still not available on like digital or streaming services, I believe. But you could order the album from the band directly and get it like immediately. I ordered mine the minute I saw it was announced, and it was shipped to me pretty much the same day. So interesting how they're choosing to release this. So it's a bit of a preview, I suppose, before it becomes available on your streaming service of choice. But if you're into physical media, it's easy to pick these records up from the band itself on their website, styxworld.com, I believe. But the second half of the record starts with Everyone Raise a Glass, which definitely reminds me a bit of Queen, with kind of that vaudeville kind of style sound, almost a circus romp kind of feel. There's even a Brian May style guitar moment, just a joyful, bouncy kind of song with hooks for days and excellent harmony vocals, ending with this majestic grand piano and swelling vocal harmonies. Just a really fun one. Blue-Eyed Raven is another cool feel, kind of a Celtic folk and gypsy kind of style, almost a flamenco style, fast-paced guitar work, some mandolin and violin, and I love how it kind of switches up halfway through the track. The last final minute really delves harder into this Celtic sound and a jaunty fiddle solo, giving this a really upbeat feel and really fun vibe that's different and set apart from the rest of the record that I really appreciate. She Knows kind of moves back into that Queen style, kind of a Sgt. Pepper's meets Queen style vibe with some circusy music as well in this one, some stabbing piano notes, some Beatles-esque melodies, great vocals as usual. Ease Your Mind is a 45-second track, dreamy piano and harmony vocals for a pleasant breather before we get into the Things That You Said with bouncy piano, passionate vocals, more excellent harmony vocals and pop hooks, brilliant power pop style to this track, rich swirling harmonies, swelling strings, pleasant synth soloing, and the ending adds a bit more power with some additional guitars, which the guitars don't really take a very prominent role on this record. I think it's much more focused on keyboards and piano and vocals, obviously, but there are several like cool standout guitar moments that add to the rock factor of the record and give it a bit more oomph and drive to it, which I really appreciate. We Lost the Wheel Again really leans into like this classic Who style sound. Very bluesy, rocky number. I believe the singer here is Will Evankovich, and he really channels kind of this Roger Daltrey sound to his vocals. Gives it a bit of Americana or Southern rock style feel to this track. So it's a really fun little rocking track towards the end of the record. And then it ends on this really beautiful ballad called Only You Can Decide. Great classic guitar strumming, beautiful vocals, added texture with some orchestration building behind it as it goes along, and a great melodic guitar solo. Just a really great ending to the record. Very elegant sounding, and those beautiful harmonies being focused on so heavily makes a lot of sense with how featured they've been throughout the record. So a beautiful record. It's short, it's sweet, it's like 40 minutes long, maybe a little bit longer, but every track has something unique and a cool element to it, and it's just very easily listenable. You know, you can listen to this record on repeat and just enjoy it washing over you. And yeah, maybe there aren't any like explosive moments. There's not like fiery, proggy moments that impress you and showcase their virtuosity, but that's not what this band's about. It's about solid, beautiful rock music that really captivates, that tells stories, that runs the gamut between different styles and feels, but still is uniquely Styx. And I think they work that out extremely well, and that makes for an excellent third part in this new era trilogy of Styx records that I absolutely enjoy and think are great and right up there with their classic material. I put these albums on the same level as The Grand Illusion and Pieces of Eight and Crystal Ball and all those classics. I think this is right in line with what they were doing back then, even though they're a bit more seasoned now and have a different kind of a lineup now. And I know a lot of people are kind of in the camp of a No Dynasty Young, it's not really Styx kind of vibe, but to me, this is just classic Styx that I absolutely adore, and it's good music, and every track really grabs me in some unique fashion. So, gotta call this a win, and it's gonna list high on one of my favorite records of this year. I really love it, and it just gets better with repeated listens. I think it's a grower, which is really fun as well. So, definitely check this out. If you're a Styx fan, it's a no-brainer. If you're just a fan of great modern melodic music with a rock feel and some progressive elements, I think this could be right up your alley as well. So definitely check it out. Let me know in the comments if you've heard this one, how you feel about it, if you've liked it as well, or if you maybe have different mixed opinions. I'd be interested to know. But from my end, I just really enjoy it and think it's a really solid, excellent record from the band. So thank you guys, and I hope you'll stick around and catch me in future episodes. I like to do album reviews on about a weekly basis as new stuff comes out that I'm interested in and showcase it for you guys. So thank you guys, and I'll catch you in a future episode. Bye everybody, enjoy the music.